All right, Kingston, welcome. Welcome to tonight's Canada First Rally, live from Kingston, Ontario. Oh, it's great to see all of you here. Now, I have to tell you, that Kingston is a city with a great history that's interwoven with the history of Canada. That Kingston was the very first capital city of Canada. Kingston was the home of our first Prime Minister, Sir John A. Macdonald. And can I say that tonight, we're going to add a new chapter to the history of Kingston with one of the largest political rallies we've seen in this city in decades. All right, now we're going to kick things off with something really important. I'm going to ask if everyone, if you're not already standing, if you can stand to your feet. And I'm going to ask you to take out your phone and put your flashlight on. Just imagine we're at a concert. We are going to sing our national anthem. We're going to show our pride in Canada. Are you ready? Okay, we've got a few people that are up here on stage. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you very much, folks. We have an incredible evening ahead of us. Just before we move on, we do have some special guests, and I know we were cheering for them earlier, but I do want to give this a special candidates that are here in the room. First, from Leeds and Grenville, we have Michael Barrett. Give it up for from Hastings, Lennox, and Addington. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Shelby Cramp Newman. All right, next from Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston, Scott Reed. All right, and from the Bay of Quinte, we have none other than Ryan Williams. All right. Now, before we introduce our special guest this evening, I have a very, very important question for all of you. After the last 10 years of Liberal rule, crime is up, cost of living is up, economy is down, and we're under the thumb of the U.S. Now, I have to ask you the question, do the Liberals deserve another term governing our country? All right, now based on the answer that I just got from that crowd, how many here tonight think it's time for change? How many think it's time for real change? How many think it's time for a conservative government that will lower taxes, build homes, unleash our resources, build more jobs, and stand up to Trump from a position of strength? Well, I've got good news for you, because there is someone here tonight that is going to lead the change that Canada needs. His name is Pierre Poilievre. Now, before we get to hear from the man himself, first, we're going to hear more about Pierre from someone that knows him well, that knows the hope and the change that he's going to bring to our country. You know what I like to say that politics is a team sport, but the team starts at home. And so it is my great pleasure tonight to introduce to all of you Anaida Poilievre. Now, some of you may know Anaida, she's an entrepreneur. She's a passionate advocate against human trafficking. She's a staunch supporter of women's empowerment. Born in Venezuela, raised in Montreal, she moved to Ottawa in 2006, and she met her future husband, Pierre Poilievre, in 2012, and they were married in 2017. An active member of the conservative movement, she's the driving force behind conservative merch. She is Pierre's #1 supporter. In 2024, she launched Their Stories Matter, an online platform dedicated to giving a voice to survivors of human trafficking. Come on, how awesome is that? It's amazing. Anaida is committed to supporting women and elevating them through her online magazine, Pretty and Smart Co., and her Lead Her Forward initiative, which seeks to pay it forward by inspiring, connecting, and elevating women. But she will tell you that her greatest accomplishments and her most important role is as a supportive wife and being a proud mother of Valentina and Cruz. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, would you join me in giving the biggest Kingston welcome to Anaida Poilievre?
Well, here we are, Canada, in a crucial time where we must decide whether we're going to elect for a 4th term a Liberal government that has weakened our economy, left us with unaffordable food and housing, rising crime, and vulnerable in face of the threats of Donald Trump, or are we going to elect a conservative government who's going to put Canada first for a change? This journey began for my husband and my family about 3 years ago when Pierre announced that he was running for the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Ever since, my husband has been traveling from coast to coast to coast to step out of the Ottawa bubble and the elite, to be on the ground with Canadians and to hear directly from them. My husband has been here all along, on the ground, fighting for Canadian families, for our youth, for our seniors. Because public office is something vulnerable, something honorable to do. So while Mr. Carney likes to look down on my husband because he has been here all along fighting with us, he looks down at my husband and tells him, Pierre doesn't know how the world works. Well, I'll tell you what. My husband knows how Canada works and how to make Canada work for all of us. Not only our policies, but also my husband's speeches, and now our rallies too. But in order to understand and really see how sincere my husband is about all of these policies, we gotta know who is the man behind all of those policies. My husband, he was born from a teenage mother who gave him out for adoption to 2 school teachers from Saskatchewan. They worked really hard, living paycheck to paycheck in a very humble way, and my husband had to fight for everything he had. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and my family immigrated here in 1995 when I was 8 years old. We lived in a small basement apartment in the east end of Montreal. My father's first job was to collect fruits and vegetables, because that's all he could do. He didn't speak the language. Eventually, he had 3 minimum wage jobs just so that he can feed our family. By the time that I was 17, I had moved out of my house and become fully financially independent. When I turned 19, I left Montreal, moved to Ottawa. I took a student loan so I can put myself through university at the same time that I was working full-time so that I can pay rent and food. I did all of that, and by the time that I was 25, a few months before I met Pierre, I had saved enough money, $25,000, to put a down payment on a small townhouse, a 2-bedroom townhouse in the east side of Ottawa. $230,000 at the time. So I was 25, single woman, able to buy a little house, $230,000. That was in 2012, 3 years before the Liberal government took office. That is what we called the Canadian promise, when you could work hard and get ahead. And that is what we are fighting for, to bring it back. So my family and I, we truly understand what's going on. And that is why we stand united in this fight. That is why I am by my husband's side every single day. I'm not just a prop, guys. So, ladies and gentlemen, life was not this like that before Trudeau. Pleasure to share with you my husband, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
taxes for a change? Who's ready to build some homes for a change? Who's ready to bring home our jobs and take back control of our country from the Americans for a change? And who's ready to put Canada first for a change? Wow, what a crowd. Look at this incredible group. The Limestone City, solid as rock. What an incredible audience. This has got to be the biggest rally here for a little while, eh? John A. MacDonald. Wow. What an incredible place. Any Queens students here? Anybody from Queens? Wow, look at all the young people. Right over here, the youth are with us. I remember when that wasn't always the case. Back in my university days, I spent a few nights on couches, beaten up old couches at Queen's University residence with friends of mine who went there. I don't remember any of them, but they were great days, great memories. And those were days of phenomenal promise. We were coming through university, we knew that, you know, we'd come out of school with a little bit of debt. Was the Canadian life under our proud flag. That's the promise that brought so many millions of people from around the world to call Canada home. But after, my friends, thank you. That's the great Canadian promise that brought us all to this country. It's the great Canadian promise that we are going to bring home because, my friends, hope and change are on the way. You know, before I get into the broader context of my remarks tonight, I should address yet another unfair attack on our economy from the U.S. president. In addition to unfair and counterproductive tariffs on our aluminum and steel, now President Trump is going after our auto workers. After, for decades, the president is betraying America's closest friend and attacking our economy, proving once again that Canada must end its era of overdependence and weakness. We must be an economic fortress that can defend itself, that can stand up for its own people, and put Canada first. Conservatives will be there for the auto workers to keep working, keep their jobs, to fight through this mess. We will push hard to put an end to these tariffs and get a quick but fair deal that protects our sovereignty, knocks down all the tariffs, and allows us to rebuild our military so that we can be a true sovereign nation. But to do that, I need your help. If you believe that we need change in putting Canada first, then I need you to elect the great Bryan Paterson, ex-member of Parliament from Kingston. There he is. Come on up here. Come on up here. Here he is, the mayor. Give it up for this guy. He's the guy. Three-term mayor, known for cutting red tape, keeping costs down, running returns his calls and puts the people first. He is someone who will always remember that his job is to fight for Kingston in Ottawa, not for Ottawa in Kingston. And I think he'd be a lot better than Mark Garrison. You agree with that? So, Mark Garrison reminds me of he's been trying desperately to get in cabinet for a decade. He would literally say anything to try and win the favor of Justin Trudeau. Defended doubling housing costs, the rampant crime on our streets, decriminalization of crack, heroin, cutbacks to our military, disrespect of our veterans, blocking pipelines and shutting down our economic independence. He defended it all so that he could get a seat at the cabinet table, and it never happened. He reminds me a little bit of the politician who was desperate to get in the Senate in the era of John A. Yeah, have a seat, relax, stay a while. Take a load off. You know, this politician, a lot like Mark Garrison, showed up. He wanted to be in the Senate. And so he showed up at a funeral for a senator who had just passed. And he walked up to John A. Macdonald. And he said, "I'd like to take that man's place." And Macdonald said, "It's too late. They already nailed the coffin shut." Oh, if you don't laugh, you cry, right? You know, this city is a very special place. They call it the Limestone City because it's literally made of limestone, the most beautiful limestone structures anywhere in the world. Great Fort Henry, not far away, a real fortress and a symbol to resistance against potential American aggression, isn't it? It's a reminder that we are a peaceful, friendly, kind people, but never mistake our kindness for weakness. We stand up for ourselves and we put our country first. As John A. Macdonald said, "Whatever you do, adhere to the Union. We are a great country and shall become one of the greatest in the universe if we preserve it. And so we must work every day and in every way, not just to preserve the country that we have, but the promise that it has made to each and every one of us." That's the two-way street that the Canadian promise represents. Yes, you get the promise made to you that hard work will get you a great life and that you can do anything you want. But in exchange, you have to stand up and fight to make sure that promise is available to everyone else. The promise was made to me when I was born to a 16-year-old single mom who put me up for adoption to 2 school teachers. And they taught me that it didn't matter where I started, I could climb to the tops of the tallest peaks if I worked hard at it. It's the same promise made to my wife when she came here as a refugee. This country has given us everything that we have. And we, our family, believes we owe it to the country to give back, to fight for the country that we inherited from those who came before us. That ultimately is what the Great Limestone represents. It doesn't fade away. It resists the harsh elements. It can even stop cannonballs. It is so solid. It's like a fortress. And that is the nature of our country. We must become an economic fortress capable of standing our ground and protecting our future. Après la décennie perdue des libéraux, le Canada coûte plus cher, on est plus pauvre et plus dépendant sur les Américains. Les libéraux ne méritent pas un 4e mandat. Il nous faut un nouveau gouvernement pour mettre le Canada d'abord, un gouvernement qui va faire changement
et un gouvernement qui va ramener nos emplois ici pour qu'on puisse se tenir debout face à Donald Trump. Nous devrions être un pays fort, un pays uni, et nous allons l'être.
The Liberals, after 9 years, after the lost Liberal decade, we have a very excited group back there. How are you all doing? God love you. Thank you. After the lost Liberal decade, costs are up, crime's up, and our economy is down under the American thumb. The Liberals do not deserve a fourth term. What we need is a new Conservative government that will put Canada first for a change. But that is the choice in this election. In order to distract from that choice, the Liberals have pulled a fast one. They've replaced Justin Trudeau with his economic advisor and hand-picked successor. He has all the same Liberal advisors, the same Liberal ministers, the same Liberal MPs, the same Liberal promises. The only difference is that Mr. Carney is even weaker and more conflicted than the Justin Trudeau who came before him. He is the first thing he did was when Donald Trump threatened tariffs, he moved his headquarters to the U.S., to Trump's headquarters, to Trump's hometown, just like Trump wanted. He sent his corporate cash off to Bermuda so that he wouldn't have to pay the same high Liberal taxes he and Justin Trudeau force on single moms, seniors, and small businesses. We learned today that the headquarters for Brookfield in Bermuda is actually a tiny little office on top of a bicycle shop. So they pretend they're doing business in this tiny little office above a bicycle shop so that they don't have to pay the taxes that they make you pay. And of course, Donald Trump has endorsed Mark Carney. He wants Carney to win because he knows that a fourth Liberal term will mean that Canada is weak and under America's thumb. My friends, we don't need a weak Liberal. We need a strong Conservative who will stand up for a change. Thank you. Thank you. And it starts with a bring-it-home economic plan. The goal is to bring back our jobs, our businesses, our economic sovereignty, so that we're no longer so dependent on the Americans. Right now, the problem is the Americans get 75% of our exports. We sell twice as much to the Americans as we sell to other provinces. We've lost $500 billion investment dollars to the South in the last 10 years. That means Canadian pension money, RRSP dollars are in the States building pipelines, mines, business centers, and other economic infrastructure that pay wages to American workers with our investment money. That is the Liberal record of handing over our economy to the Americans. By contrast, we want to bring it home. And that is why, with the help of Shelby Newman-Cramp, a businesswoman and our member of Parliament, and Ryan Williams, also a hotel owner from Belleville. And the great Scott Reed, whose family founded Giant Tiger. Anybody who has one of these Conservative Canada First signs, if you show up at a Giant Tiger with one of those, you get free admission into the store, okay? The Reed family is wonderful. We have built an economic package. We're going to talk about Michael Barrett in a minute, but we've got some other things to say about the great Michael Barrett. But we put together an economic plan to bring our jobs and resources home. Here's how it's going to work. First of all, we need to cut taxes on work, investment, energy, and home building in order to incentivize people to get things done again. So let's start with income tax. What is income tax? It's the fine you pay for the crime of working hard. You get out of bed in the morning, you put in long hours, and the more you work, the more pain you suffer. You know, the beatings will continue until morale improves, as they said in one movie once. There's a great meme of a kid in a park with his dad, and the kid's bawling his eyes out after having asked, "What is an income tax form?" And dad says, "Well, it's just like your report card at school, except the opposite. The harder you work, the more you get punished." And so we wonder why a lot of people choose not to take that extra shift, work that extra hour, get that bonus or promotion. We want this to be a country that rewards hard work again. And that is why we will cut income taxes by 15% for a change. You like that? Yes. I know you can spend that money better than the government can. A dollar left in the hands of the person who earned it is always better spent than in the hands of the politician who taxed it. And you know how to spend your money. We'll let you contribute an extra $5,000 to your tax-free savings account as long as you invest it in Canadian companies. And then there's the carbon tax. Mark Carney must think that Canadians are really stupid. So Liberals passed the carbon tax, charged it to you for 7 years. They increased it, passed a law, which is still in place, to increase the tax over the next 5 years up to 61 cents a litre. And then, leaving that law in place, just a few days before the election, they decide to hide it from the gas pump in the hopes that you'll forget that it was ever there, re-elect them so that they can put the tax back on and raise it higher than ever. On top of that, Mr. Carney says he wants a big industrial carbon tax on our steel, aluminum, and our big automakers. So let's get this straight. Donald Trump and Mark Carney agree. Both of them want to tax Canadian industry. Trump wants to do it with tariffs. Carney wants to do it with carbon taxes. I want neither. I will axe the tax for everyone, for everything, for real, for good, for a change. And then there's the inflation tax. The worst tax of all. It's the worst tax because it's undemocratic. It is unfair. It is sneaky. And it takes from those with the least to give to those with the most. Let me explain what the inflation tax is. When government wants to take more of your money, but they're afraid to admit it, they don't go into the House of Commons and pass a tax increase. They start spending more than they have, and they have the central bank print the cash to pay for it. So in roughly the last 4 years, the money supply increased from 1.8 trillion to 2.5 trillion, a 40% increase, during which time the real economy only grew by 4%. In other words, the money is growing 10 times faster than the stuff that money buys. Now, you might say, well, more money, that's a good thing, isn't it? Well, not if you don't have more of the stuff that money buys. If you have 10 apples and $10, it's $1 an apple. If you double the number of dollars to 20, but you still only have 10 apples, well, all of a sudden, each apple costs twice as much. That is inflation. It's very good if you are a billionaire or a multinational corporation because the assets you own go up faster than inflation. But if you're a worker or a senior, the purchasing power of your pension or paycheck goes down. It's actually not that things cost more, it's that your money is worth less. And it is a secret, sneaky, silent thief. Almost coming into your house in the middle of the night, taking change out of your pocket, just amounts that you can't possibly notice. Until that day comes when you're standing at the till at the grocery store and you have to start putting products back in the basket because you can't afford to pay the bill. Mark Carney advocated for central banks all around the world to print copious amounts of money. 4 years ago, he said we would have deflation, which means prices go down. God forbid prices would go down. And that is why he advised Trudeau to print cash, causing the inflation crisis that we see today. That is only the symptom. The cause is overspending by government. We need to get government spending under control. We will cut bureaucracy, consultants. We will cut back on handouts to corporate insiders. We will cut back on foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracy to bring our money home. And we will pass a dollar-for-dollar law requiring we find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending. Single moms, small businesses, and seniors make those trade-offs every day. You've been pinching your pennies long enough. It's time for the government to start pinching its pennies too. And we are going to axe the sales tax on new homes to save you up to $65,000. In short, the choice in this election, after the lost Liberal decade of rising taxes and inflation, they do not deserve a fourth term. We need a new Conservative government that will cut taxes and stop inflation for a change. And I got a question for you. How are house prices here in Kingston? How's the rent? You can find an affordable place after... Oh, that can't be true. The Liberals promised affordable housing. Oh, you must be hallucinating. The Liberals said, no, but the Liberals said that housing would be affordable if you just put them in power for 10 years. Now they say if you just give them a fourth term, they'll make it affordable. Anybody believe them? So this is what happened. Liberals drove up housing costs with out-of-control money printing and immigration to drive up demand, while they funded bureaucracy that blocked home building, that suppressed supply. You have vastly more demand, you have no more supply, you have much higher prices. And that is how we got into this mess during the lost Liberal decade. To respond to it, they started creating new government programs. They said if we just had bigger bureaucracies in Ottawa, that somehow housing would become more affordable for the people in Kingston and Calgary and everywhere else. Well, surprise, bureaucrats don't build homes. We need people who actually build houses, not building bureaucratic office spaces in Ottawa. Well, what is Mr. Carney proposing now? Get this, the exact same thing as Justin Trudeau on housing, but on steroids. He wants a $35 billion government home building corporation that will, what he says, build prefab homes with no parking spots. Because of course they don't want you to drive. You know, you'll own nothing and be happy. So if you elect the Liberals, the hope is that one day they'll make you a tiny prefab home with no parking space that they will own and you will rent from the government. Does that sound like a bright future to you? No. We know that the real reason that we can't get housing built is because of taxes and bureaucracy. We have the second slowest building permits in the OECD. It takes 3 times longer to get a permit in Canada than it does in the UK or the US. That's why we have the fewest homes of any country in the G7, even though we have by far the most land to build on. To change it, we need strong national leadership to get rid of the sales tax on new homes, incentivize municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development charges. We're going to sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build new homes. And most important of all, we are going to have the boots, not suits, to build the homes we need. We need the carpenters, we need the framers, the plumbers, and the electrician. Do we have any trades in the house today? Wow. My advice to every young person today is get a trade. Get a trade. All the best jobs are in the trades. You'll do the trade itself, and then you'll take the brain power, the problem solving, and the common sense. You'll know how the things actually work, and then you can start a business and employ other tradespeople and do incredible things. The smartest people I meet, the best business people I see, are in the trades, but we don't have enough of them. We don't have enough. So the government is putting all of its eggs in white-collar education. And university is great. I went there, but we have to back up the trades as well. And that is why I have announced that we will put the trades first for a change. We will fund 350,000 training positions for young apprenticeships, young apprentices. Young apprentices, we're going to bring back the $4,000 apprenticeship grant to help low-income apprentices pay their bills. We'll make sure that you get the income support you need while you get yourself off the ground as you're learning those skills. We'll partner with our great building trades unions. Did you see the unions that have come out to support the Conservatives? Isn't that amazing? I love the building trades union. Did I tell you that I'm actually doing an apprenticeship myself right now on the side? Yeah, for cabinet making. It's going to be a great cabinet, much better than the cabinet we have right now. It'll be a Canada First cabinet. It'll be built with maple wood, maple leaves everywhere. But you know, I'm also going to give a big, beautiful present to every high school principal. I know that education is provincial, but there's nothing in the British North American Act, Scott can correct me if I'm wrong, that says that we can't send a present from the Prime Minister to the principal. It's going to be a big box. It's going to be the size of this entire stage. In it will be a module for every single licensed trade so we can get teenagers in pre-apprenticeship starting at age 14. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome? Get a trade. We want to unlock powerful paychecks in the professions as well. We've got to reduce the wait times in our healthcare system. 6 million people without a doctor after the lost Liberal decade. The lost Liberal decade, and what do they say? That they want to block the 20,000 immigrant nurses and 32,000 immigrant nurses and 20,000 immigrant doctors we have in this country. They can't work because there's no way that they can prove their qualifications. And so my approach is totally different than the current approach, which is bureaucracy. What I say is we did it in the trades with the Red Seal 70 years ago. It worked. Let's create a blue seal so that our immigrant professionals can take a test, prove they're qualified, get working in our hospitals. Get working in our hospitals. But we need to bring home powerful paychecks that will make our economy economically independent and self-reliant. That means unleashing the production of Canadian resources. Liberals are waging war on our energy sector. Their radical keep-it-in-the-ground ideology was bad under Trudeau. It will be worse under Carney. He literally said that Canada should keep 80% of its oil reserves in the ground. That means that the oil production will all go to the United States, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and many other hostile dictatorships will get richer and richer, while Canadians get poorer and poorer. He supported blocking the pipeline to the Pacific Coast, Northern Gateway, which would have taken 500,000 barrels of oil, sent it to Asia, going around America. Now, because the Liberals blocked 15 LNG liquefaction plants, we have to give 100% of our natural gas to the Americans for $4, while it goes for $15 in Europe. They say that there is no business case. And just this week, Mark Carney has proven he hasn't learned a thing. He gave a big, beautiful gift to Donald Trump. He said that he will keep in place the Liberal No New Pipelines Law C-69 if he is reelected. This could be the single most important issue in this election, because if this law stays in place, we will not build a single pipeline, a single LNG export plant, a single major mine. We will not be able to break free from our American dependence. My friends, it is time for a change. We cannot allow a fourth term of Liberals blocking our resources and empowering Donald Trump. We need a new Conservative government that will put Canada first by unlocking our resources in Canada. We will repeal. The energy companies have come forward with 5 clear demands. 1, they need us to repeal C-69, the No New Pipelines Law. I say yes. 2, they say that we need to have approval times for major projects of 6 months. I say yes to that too. 3, they say we need to get rid of the energy cap that stops our companies from growing. I say yes, let's scrap the cap and produce more energy here in Canada. They say that we need to get rid of the industrial carbon tax. I've said yes to that. And they say we need to partner with First Nations to allow them to invest in, profit from, and gain paychecks through new resource projects. I say yes to that too. My friends, we are going to unlock Canada as an energy superpower under a Canada First government. We're going to have these, they're called shovel-ready zones. We will look at areas that are perfectly cut out for mines, pipelines, LNG plants, and we'll grant the permits in advance with clear specifications and standards so businesses know exactly what they will have to do and they can just get started. My goal is to build pipelines, Canadian pipelines, with Canadian steel to deliver Canadian energy to ourselves and to world markets, to approve natural gas liquefaction plants so we can ship our gas overseas, breaking Asian dependence on dirty coal and breaking European dependence on Putin, but more important than any of that, breaking our dependence on the American energy market. We're going to grant permits to start digging mines and building roads up to the Great Ontario Ring of Fire. By unlocking these resources, we will be strong, self-reliant. We will generate $200,000 and $300,000 a year paychecks, annual paychecks for our trades workers, countless other jobs for the small businesses that will support them in restaurants and hotels and others. The great thing about all of this is that it doesn't depend on the Americans for anything. These are critical minerals that we can sell all around the world without going through the United States. This is our key to economic independence and to you bringing more paychecks home to your family. So again, the choice is after the lost Liberal decade? Are we going to elect them to a fourth term to make us weak, to keep our resources in the ground, and make us dependent on the Americans? Or are we going to put Canada first for a change by unlocking our resources and becoming strong and independent? Bring it home. Bring it home. And you know what else we're going to bring home? We're going to bring home safety to our streets. We will stop the crime for a change. After the lost Liberal decade of catch and release, hug a thug policies, crime is running rampant in our streets. Violent crime up 50%, gun crime up 116%, hate crime up 250%, crimes against children and women up almost 100%. Human trafficking has nearly doubled. Drug overdoses have tripled under this radical liberalization of drugs. The good news is we don't have a lot of criminals in Canada. The bad news is they're very productive. We have a very small number of criminals doing a phenomenal amount of crime, but they're continually released on the streets again and again and again. You hear what happened in Ottawa the other day? We had a criminal walked up to a guy, pulled a gun and said, "Give me all your money." The guy said, "Wait a second, you know who I am? I'm Justin Trudeau." And the criminal said, "Well, in that case, give me all my money." But joking aside, we know what the problem is. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. That means each offender was arrested every 2 days. You basically have to be doing crime all day, every day, if you're going to get caught every second day. I mean, and these guys don't have benefits, they're not unionized, they do get room and board, they come in and they go out. It's like the Hotel California. They check out, but they never really leave, right? But that's what we need to change. This is as a result of Liberal catch and release law C-75, which requires judges release offenders at, quote, the earliest opportunity under, quote, the least stringent conditions. And so we're going to repeal catch and release and bring in jail, not bail, for repeat violent offenders. Secondly, there's house arrest. The most dangerous offenders and the most prolific car thieves, even when they're convicted, don't actually go to jail. They go home to watch Netflix. Well, you know, right now, if you steal 100 cars, you get house arrest, you can watch Netflix, or you can play Grand Theft Auto in your living room, or walk out the front door and do the real thing all over again. A Canada First Conservative government will end house arrest for chronic offenders, and we will lock them up. And we will repeal C-83, the law that allows Paul Bernardo to go out of a maximum security penitentiary. He's going back to maximum penitentiary. He'll never get out of jail. And then there's the guns. Look, we know where the guns are coming from. The US president complains about stuff coming from our country into his country. What about all the illegal guns that are coming from the US? When is he going to do something about that? Well, we can't control what he does, but when is our government going to do something about that? 80% of gun crime is done with illegal American guns smuggled through our porous borders. 99% of shipping containers go uninspected. Much of our border is unguarded. In fact, CBSA is not even allowed to guard spots between official points of entry, and so the guns come straight in. When I'm Prime Minister, we're going to put Canada first for a change with 2,000 more CBSA officers, scanners to look into shipping containers, watchtowers to interrupt guns, drugs, border crossers, and stolen cars. And we will pay for it by canceling the ridiculous multi-billion-dollar gun grab against law-abiding citizens. Protect our hunters. Hunters, look at the hunters here. Make sure you send the message far and wide. If the Liberals are elected to a fourth term, they will ban every single hunting rifle in this country. They've already announced their intention to do it. They're going after our hunters. We know that Grandpa Joe's is not shooting up downtown Toronto with his hunting rifle. It's real criminals. I want to protect Canadians from criminals. Why do the Liberals want to protect turkeys from hunters? Maybe we need to protect Canadians from turkeys. I don't know. But we're going to protect the licensed, law-abiding, trained and tested hunters and sport shooters who follow the law. And we're also going to protect our youth against the murderous scourge of opioids. Not a day goes by that I do not meet a parent or a loved one who has lost someone dear to them to this terrible poison. Fentanyl is 100 times more powerful than heroin. 40 milligrams is enough to kill 20 people. We've lost 50,000 Canadians over the last decade, more than died fighting for Canada in the Second World War. The radical liberalization of drugs under this Carney-Trudeau government is largely to blame. Not only have they left our borders open to these drugs, but they have told prosecutors not to go after possession. They have decriminalized heroin, crack, cocaine, fentanyl in British Columbia in partnership with that BC government. They literally hand out opioids paid for by your tax dollars. They sanction drug consumption sites in our communities, once tranquil communities. My friends, we will take a completely different approach. We will stop the drugs for a change. We will ban hard drugs. We will bring in life sentences for fentanyl kingpins. We will stop giving out taxpayer-funded opioids, and instead, we are going to invest in treatment, rehabilitation, and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free. These recovery centers are incredible. I was at one called Harvest House in Atlantic Canada recently, and there's also another Harvest House in Ottawa. Have you been? You work there? We have the president of Harvest House. Give it up to a great hero. I love Harvest House. Thank you. If you're looking for a great charity to support Harvest House. They took over an abandoned schoolhouse. They bring men with addictions to come and live there for 90 days, 100 days, 365 days. They cleanse their souls. They heal their bodies, they break the addiction, they provide counseling, detox, group therapy, physical exercise, job preparation. They get them off into homes. They reconnect them with their families. They remind us all that hope is always possible, that redemption is just around the corner. If you're out there, have hope. Hang on. Help is on the way. We're going to put our country first again by supporting our great men and women in uniform of the Canadian Armed Forces. I'm so proud to have the great Michael Barrett, a military veteran, a former reservist, right? Reg Force member. He was a Reg Force member. I thought you were a reservist. Even more impressive than I thought. This guy gets better each day. Our corruption buster in Parliament was actually a regular force member in the armed forces. What was your regiment again?
I was a lineman with 1 SIGs, trained here at CFB Kingston.
You'll never meet a greater Canadian than Michael Barrett, who's still fighting for his country today. And every day, in every way, he reminds me on Parliament Hill that we need to rebuild our armed forces, and we will. We will infuse the forces with more funds. We will fill all of the vacancies that have been left open after the lost Liberal decade. We're going to build 4 massive Arctic icebreakers to take back control of our icy northern waters. We will build northern landing strips. We will purchase the Poseidon aircraft that will help us to intercept and interrupt foreign submarines. We'll be putting our own submarines in those waters. Finally, we are going to open the first Canadian Forces base in the Arctic since the Cold War, CFB Iqaluit. And our soldiers, sailors, and airmen will be driven by a warrior culture, not a woke culture. We're going to expand the Cadet Corps to get our young people doing Navy, Army, and Air Cadets, learning how to fly, learning riflery, outdoor survivalism, punctuality, respect, service. We'll send them on exchanges across the country so that a young person from, say, Toronto could go up and in bed with the Arctic Rangers and learn thousands of years of Inuit knowledge on surviving and surveilling in the North. This is how we bring our young people together in a spirit of service and patriotism and unite our country. After the lost Liberal decade, which has sought to denigrate our history and disrespect our veterans, we were going to uphold our proud history and our armed forces to bring our country together around a spirit of patriotism. We will reject the Century Initiative, which seeks to nearly triple our population to 100 million people in Canada. This radical ideology has driven our system out of control. Canadians are the most welcoming people in the world, but over the last several years of liberal extremism, we've been growing our population 3 times faster than our housing stock. We can never allow Liberals to do that again. But Mark Carney's top advisor, Mark Wiseman, continues to push this Century Initiative, which is, again, another top-down scheme that is good for the large multinational corporations who want to drive down wages by bringing in a surplus of workers to take jobs away from our people. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to get back to a common sense immigration system that brings in people who can fill jobs that Canadians can't do, who can integrate into our country, can enjoy great success, but we will never allow our population to grow faster than our housing, our health care, and our job market. And we will put our country first. I will ban all of my ministers and MPs from any involvement in the World Economic Forum. We'll uphold our history again. We will rebuild our statues and our monuments. In fact, we will put the famous five, Terry Fox, our soldiers, the founders of our country, back in the Canadian passport. We will be a nation of people who trade with each other, harvest our resources, build homes for our youth, protect our vulnerable, secure our border, rebuild our military, renew our freedom, and raise our flag. We will be a nation, we are a nation not of tax collectors and toll masters, of gatekeepers and grandees, of rule makers and rulers. No, we are a nation of entrepreneurs and explorers, of artists and adventurers, of workers and warriors, of pioneers and patriots. What binds us together is the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything. That when you get knocked down, there's someone there to help you back up, that you can get on your feet and have a brighter future. That change is around the corner for the people suffering out there. And so I say to that 35-year-old couple desperate to own a home and have kids, but slowly giving up hope, don't give up hope. Change is on the way. To the elderly couple choosing between eating and heating, have hope. Change and help are on the way for you too. To the family of a loved one afflicted by addiction, hang in there. We're going to fight for your child. We're going to get them back on their feet, and they're going to have a bright future because change is on the way for your daughter too. Uphold the Canadian promise so that hard work gets you a beautiful house on a safe street under our proud flag. Canada first, let's bring it home!